Welcome back to the Notary Podcast hosted by me, Daniel C. Lewis. We're so happy to see everybody back this week, and this week's going to be a very special podcast. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to this podcast. We're so happy to do this podcast, and this week, very, very special topic we're going to talk about this week. We're going to talk mostly to the new notaries, the notary novice, people who are just coming into the business. This week I talked to several notaries around my city that are been notary employees, worked for an attorney service, worked for an auto dealership, worked for a business, and they became a notary at that business. And these notaries always have told me they always wanted to start off and figure out how to start a notary business, how to become a notary entrepreneur and make income just from being a notary. And this week we're going to talk about 4 things that you should consider, even if you're a seasoned notary, 4 things that you should consider when you are out there thinking about becoming a notary entrepreneur, a notary that goes out and makes money, a notary business owner, a notary contractor, if you will. Now, before we even get to that, sometimes other notaries, they write books, they do courses, and sometimes they send me materials. And I just want to plug a book that I received recently. And if you're a new notary or a seasoned notary and you wanted to get in the apostille arena, apostille industry, where you're notarizing things for people that have to send documents to another country, I want to highly recommend this book. I was reading over this book last night. It's Your Passport to Apostilles. It's written by 2 great notaries, Judith Lawrence. I wrote a book with her a couple of years ago, Make Your Business Our Business, and also Bill Soroka. Bill Soroka is known as the Notary Coach. He's a very professional person that has written several professional notary books. I want to highly recommend this book. It just goes over 116 tips to build a thriving business as an apostille agent. So I want to highly recommend this book. In fact, just to give you an excerpt of this book, in the first page, just to give you a little bit of a flavor of this book, is written by one of my good friends who was the 2024 Notary of the Year, Debbie Best Snidemill. She writes, 2 distinguished and well-respected leaders in the notary space, Judith Lawrence and Bill Soroka, have collaborated to produce a comprehensive guide of business building tips for anybody determined to diversify their services by facilitating documents requiring an apostille or legalization. This outstanding book is jam-packed with tips to navigate the authentication process, improve research skills, and incorporate actionable steps to market to grow your business for success. So whether you're just starting, needing a refresher, or want to implement marketing techniques to gain repeat business or expand your reach, this book is for you. And that's written by Judith Best Snidemill. In this book, and the foreword is actually written by one of my good friends, Michelle Kempler, and she was on this podcast. Also, Deb was on this podcast before too. And hopefully, in the near future, we'll get the authors of this book, both Judith and Bill Soroka, on the podcast to talk about this book. I just think it's a great book. It has 116 tips to build your notary business, and this is just going to be a great investment. I think you can find this on Amazon, and once again, the book is called Your Passport to Apostilles. Look it up, find it on Amazon or Spotify or wherever you find your reference materials for your notary business, and I want to highly recommend this book. This is going to be a great book for you. So now, let's get into the podcast. today and talk about the 4 things you should know if you're a new notary, or even if you are a seasoned notary. These are 4 things that you should know when you're starting your notary business. It's going to be exciting. The first thing, the first thing is very important, because when I talk to notaries, especially this week, I talked to a lot of notaries that said, hey, I really want to get into notary business. And they don't really know where to start, how to get going. So the first thing I want to talk to you, number 1, first know the legal requirements and the licensing requirements. You have to know the legal requirements to get in this business to help set yourself apart from whenever you start in the business. You have to know what the legal requirements are and the licensing requirements. And what that means is know what the requirements to get your notary commission, passing. Sometimes it's a requirement to pass a background check. In Indiana, you have to go through, they recommend that you go through the Indiana State Police. If you're going to become a signing agent, a lot of people go through the National Notary Association and use that background check to get clients. But know your notary commission, passing background checks, completing any type of training requirement that's required. And usually these guidelines are set by a governing body like the Secretary of State in your state. So make sure you research that. Completing training, or sometimes there's an exam that you have to take, and acquiring any bonds or insurance that's required by the state. Now, recently I had a notary meetup in my office, and one of the persons that attended raised their hand and said, hey, well, what if you don't have to go through the state requirements and you can kind of proclaim yourself a notary and just get a stamp and start notarizing that and just proclaim yourself as a notary? I know in some areas, some people have, and this lady said she looked up things on the black or dark web, and it says you can just become a notary that way. I don't recommend that. If you're having someone who's trying to encourage you to try to become a notary without going through the proper state guidelines, I don't encourage that, because anything that you do try to notarize without going through the proper guidelines can be invalid, and that can open you up to lawsuits and even jail time. So make sure you know what the legal requirements are, what the licensing requirements are, what the notary commissions, background screenings if needed. If you need a bond, some states don't need a bond. Some states require E&O insurance. If you need that type of thing, if there's an exam, make sure you do your research and find that out, usually with the state government, usually the Secretary of State's office. So that's the first thing you want to do. Make sure you know what the legal requirements are and the licensing requirements are. So that's number 1. Number 2, get an understanding of marketing demands in your area and the niches. Some people live in a rural area. Some people live in an urban area. Know what the marketing demands are in your area. And that includes like knowing what the demand is for general notary work, and that includes signing documents, affidavits. See if there's any demand like that. I do personally a lot of powers of attorneys. I do a lot of trust documents, procurement documents, working with attorneys directly, working with signing companies. I still do a lot of real estate documents, a lot of I-9s, a lot of even inspections. So know what the demand is in your area. That will really help you with the next step in knowing or going into the notary field. So even the specialized fields like real estate, knowing what that demand is, knowing if it's a growing area in real estate, is there a lot of buildings going up? Is there a lot of houses going up? Knowing that demand. So getting that idea and doing that research to get that demand. Maybe even checking on sites like findanotary.com that the National Notary Association have, or signingagent.com, and doing a lookup on notaries in your area, see how many notaries in your area. Maybe you want to even set up a meetup for notaries to come to that meetup that are professional notaries and see what demands are in your area. So making sure you do your proper research, your market, knowing what the market's demanding, and knowing if there's a way you can even do a niche notary service. I know in some areas people are doing what they call notary permit running, working for contractors, seeing if that's a niche area in your for your area. We have a online course that you can find on lewistraining.online that you can go on there and take that notary permit running course. So just knowing your market, that's number two. Number one, knowing the legal requirements and licensing requirements. Number two, knowing the market demand. You have to know what the market demand is in your area to be successful. Let's go on to number three. The third thing you should know if you are looking at becoming a notary entrepreneur and you want to expand your service, expand services in your area, know what business structure you want to have, and basically the financial part of that. When I talk about business structure, I mean whether you want to become a sole proprietor, LLC, or any other entity like an S corp. Know what you want to go into. Now, in order to do that, because a lot of notaries like myself, when I first got into business, I didn't know what's the difference between a sole proprietor, LLC, S corp. How does that benefit me? How will I know which one I want to be? What I did was went to this organization called score.org. That's SCORE.org. What they work with the Small Business Administration. They're in just about every jurisdiction. So if you go to score.org, that's SCORE.org, you go to SCORE, and they will help you write up your business plan. I know when I went back in 2003, I didn't know how to write a business plan, first of all. So I went to SCORE. It's a free service. Let me say that again. It's a free service. They will sit down with you, help you write a business plan. And it's so easy. They sat down with me. They gave me a questionnaire. As I was answering the questions, my answers to the questions became my business plan. So that's how easy it was. And I made a very comprehensive business plan, comprehensive for myself at that time. Very comprehensive business plan, just answering the questions. Well, what type of business I want, who will I market to, who are my number one customers, how will I build a referral group to refer business to me, just basic questions that I wrote out and answered. So make sure, number three, figuring out your business structure. Once you have your business structure, your business plan, you can kind of figure out, okay, am I going to the S corp? Am I going to be LLC? Am I going to be sole proprietor? And to help me with that, I definitely talk to a CPA and also talk to an attorney. I also talk to my bank manager and try to get some input from those three individuals. And those really help me with my business structure. So, because the notary business it's a serious business for people. I know sometimes people say, well, you're just a notary, but this is a serious business. You're dealing with once you get going, millions of dollars worth of income of people's assets. So you have to take it seriously, and I would highly recommend, especially if you're looking at longevity in the notary industry, you look at your business structure early on. Even to help with that, several years ago, myself and Judith Lawrence created a book called Make Your Business Our Business, which we help you talk about business structure, how to get an LLC, how to get an EIN number for your business, and get all that. You can find that book also on Amazon. That's Make Your Business our business. So knowing the business structure, sole proprietor, LLC, S Corp, and you get that by creating that business plan. You hit a lot of other topics that you really need to look at, like startup costs, pricing strategy, marketing plans, and of course, really important, setting up your financial goals. So the third thing is your business structure and your finances, making sure you are planning that in your planning process to become a successful notary entrepreneur. Now, the fourth thing we're going to talk about in order to be successful as a notary entrepreneur is the marketing and client acquisition. Marketing and client acquisition. This is something that I think a lot of notaries, when they start off, they don't think about this. They may think about the marketing piece, how I'm going to market myself, whether I'm going to market myself online or social media, but they don't think about the client acquisition. Because a lot of times notary work is where you go in, you meet the person one time, you notarize for them, and you never see that person again. But there is another piece to that, client acquisition, meaning making them a repeat customer over and over and over and over again. For me, my mindset was like this. I want to notarize for a person, and then I want them to remember me in a way that, hey, I want you to notarize for my mother, my grandparents, my father, my cousins, my aunts, my uncles, everybody, my children, my grandchildren, because the way you handled yourself in this professional manner. I want you to keep coming back. I want you to be our family notary. That's how I approached my business several years ago, and that worked out fine for me. So marketing and client acquisition, and that means developing a strategy to attract the right clients, to attract the right clientele. And that means, and part of that is just having a nice professional website, utilizing social media effectively. A lot of people, I've seen a lot of notaries that go on social media and not really use it in an effective manner, not really leveraging social media in an effective manner, but making sure you have a professional website, utilizing social media in an effective manner. That means not putting down negative comments on other notaries or a lot of negative comments throughout social media, but putting it on positive, encouraging other notaries to perform at their very best, giving positive encouragement to other notaries on social media. Joining local business groups will definitely help. I know a notary here in Indiana has joined a lot of little business groups, little networking groups, and has paid dividends for her. Building a referral group. This is something I highly recommend. I started my business building referral networks with notaries. And I've told this story before. I went to a conference. I think that conference was in Las Vegas at the Bally's Hotel. Shout out to Bally's Hotel. And I met this notary that was in my same area. Her name was Quincy Perry. We met. We were going to different classes. We met at the end of the day and said, hey, I want to go to this class. She said, no, I want to go to this class. I said, well, why don't you go to that class? I'll go to this class. We meet at the end of the day. We compare notes, and we try to built a little friendly notary network that way. Once we got back to Indiana, I met with her again, and she's for coffee, and she said, why don't we do this? When I have notary assignments and I can't take some of them, I'll refer them to you, and would you do the same for me? Now, at that time, I had no business. I had very little business, very little clients. And I said, sure, that works for me. It cost me nothing. She referred business to me. I referred business to her, and that's the thing that really built my notary business. So I'm so grateful to her, Quincy Perry. If you're seeing this, I want to say again, thank you. I'm so grateful for that. And just building referral networks just works so well, especially if you're building a network with people that meets your same business intensity, if that makes sense. Not everybody's going to be at your level of intensity. I wasn't at her level of intensity of business, but I was at her level of business intensity, if that makes sense. So if you're building a referral, especially referrals with other notaries, look for people that are at your same business intensity, if that makes sense. Now let's just review this. Legal requirements, knowing your legal requirements and licensing in your state, which includes notary commissions, whether you have to have a background screening, whether you have to take an exam, whether you have to have bonds. That's the first thing. Second thing, marketing demands, knowing your marketing demands, doing your research, finding out what are the niches for notaries in your market. It's not going to be the same in every market. I know sometimes people hear people online say, I'm just killing it in the real estate industry as a notary, but in other markets, they're killing it as a notary permit runner, or they're killing it as doing general notary work. So know your market research. Third thing, know what kind of business structure you need and kind of knowing your financial goals. That includes setting up a business plan, knowing if you're going to be a sole proprietor, LLC, or S Corp, knowing the difference between those, talking to tax professionals, talking to an attorney, talking to your bank manager on what you're trying to accomplish with your notary business, knowing the startup costs and strategies and marketing plan, and knowing what your financial goals are throughout that year. And fourth, marketing and client acquisition, knowing how to position yourself in the market where you're getting the calls. You're not chasing the calls, you're getting the calls. You're marketing yourself effectively. I know in my area, I use findanotary.com, signingagent.com, great platforms to use to get yourself out there. So look at those, findanotary.com, signingagent.com. Also, making sure if you want to expand, if your marketing demand allows it, professional websites, great social media posts and likes on and encouragement for other notaries, utilizing business networking, and also building that referral group. Understanding these aspects will help you lay a solid foundation for your notary business and helps you really expand your notary business. So I just want to leave it there. Hopefully you like this podcast. If you did like this podcast, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to this podcast. I can't wait till the next week to do another podcast, and we may have a very special guest on that. So make sure you show up next week for this podcast, found exclusively on YouTube. See you next week. Have a great day.